Welcome to Rabbit Hole, previously known as Down the Rabbit Hole.
Exactly. That was before the pandemic.
Well, during the pandemic, we also released a few episodes.
But this is now the slimmed down 24 version, right?
Yes. New version, video version. You might recognize our voices, but this is who we are in person.
But we're also going to spin out an audio-only edit. So
yes. Will be released at the same time for sure.
Released at the same time. You don't have to miss anything. And subject material, same stuff.
Yes. And today's episode is super interesting.
Yeah.
It's Morbid Curiosity. It's called Morbid Curiosity. And you will find it interesting because you are maybe going to discover things about yourself.
Yeah, maybe. We didn't think Morbid Curiosity was a thing, but apparently it is.
It is.
So we thought we'd get ahead of the game and do an episode.
And let's do the episode on it, yeah.
Yeah, so let's go to that.
Let's see it and see you after.
Cool.
Mind.
Welcome to a mind segment for Rabbit Hole.
Oh, I like these.
Those mind ones are mind-blowing.
They usually are. We learn things.
Yes. Right? I think this is a very interesting segment in the sense that maybe we'll reveal a little bit about ourselves.
So, yeah, not all of it good.
True.
Or not.
But today we talk about morbid curiosity.
Yeah. Now, I don't know about you, Rafa, but I didn't actually think morbid. I just thought it was a phrase. I didn't realize it was a thing. Did you?
I think that you can measure, I guess.
Well, apparently
that's
you can,
yes.
Right?
Because I think that you could find usually, that this is very morbid, or the word morbid, and it became like a normal thing to say in a way, or attached to.
It's become maybe a bit devalued or something.
Could be, but the fact that actually when you talk about morbid curiosity and you can measure it, it's what makes it the topic of today.
So the thing is, let's start with a kind of general, what is morbid curiosity? Mm-hmm. It's basically, for example, are you a fan of horror movies, for example? Mm-hmm. Now, and this is probably not interesting, but I have an aversion to watching, I don't mind the odd horror movie, but I'm not into like slasher movies, and I'm not into
massacre movies,
I'm not into, I don't need to see the inside of people's bodies spread up the walls and across the kitchen table and whatever. Mm-hmm. I just don't watch those movies because I say to myself, I don't see the point, but there's obviously something deeper going on.
Yes.
So...
Well, it's about all kind of also violence.
Yeah,
it's related to also violence, not only horror and this kind of...
so it could be violent news, for example. For example,
that's a good one, actually.
Yeah. You gave an example. Obviously, my friend here is originally from Mexico, so clearly he has more experience than I do from England.
To a point, I think.
To a point, unless you include London in that, and that's another story.
Yeah. Basically, what we were talking is about also how this morbid curiosity somehow, at some point, it has become a bit normalized.
We were talking about that, weren't we? Mm-hmm. We were thinking that, you read generally around the media about you hear phrases like the coarsening of social discourse. It sounds a bit fancy. All it means is people are a lot more rude to each other than we're pretty sure they didn't used to be, right? Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that?
No, I agree completely with that.
And I think also you also read about an increasing distrust in public institutions, the rule of law. Does your parliament work correctly as you think it should for you? Do the law courts work, or can you buy them if you have money? Answer, yes. Literally, it doesn't matter which country you're in. So we're kind of aware, obviously, overall of this kind of, I don't know, kind of lessening of a coarsening of everything. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe Morbid Curiosity is kind of mixed up in there, isn't it?
I think so. And what made us really get into the topic, as I said, is the fact that there's a Morbid Curiosity scale.
which was new to us.
And we're like, okay, now we have to test and check.
Now we're getting curious.
Because exactly, that's when you get curious, probably.
Yeah.
Because we made a test. Of course, we will discuss our results a little later after we discuss a bit more about the topic.
Yeah.
The questionnaire is very simple.
It is very simple. You can do it online, and we'll provide you with a link to it. And it's proper
simple
job.
20 questions. Go through them. At the end, you get your scores, and then we will discuss about the scales and things.
Yeah.
And but let's move on to.
But I think just before we I think it's worth saying in this modern era of nobody has to lose, right? I think we should say to you that there is no wrong result on Morbid Curiosity. Okay?
No.
Everybody's a winner.
Yes.
Okay?
Well, basically, that's why we moved now to the studies that have been made about this.
Yeah.
Because in general, Morbid Curiosity in itself is not really that bad. Or nothing that is out of the normal.
It's evolutionary. It's a symptom of an evolutionary trend.
But once again, once you start to have a scale, then there's not...
And you can start comparing.
Not out of normal, then not, but then you end up in...
There is no wrong answer, but there are some interesting answers.
Yeah,
some answers are more interesting than
if you want to quote it a bit, yes, that's how it is.
Yeah, so basically, measurements of morbid curiosity are actually divided by academics, people who do studies and so on and so forth.
Were they very morbid, curious about
Well,
stuff?
We became morbidly curious about morbid curiosity, so we're already down the rabbit hole, right?
True.
So I agree with you. I'm not going to get into it. Yeah, like, I'm going to say it anyway. There's this kind of thing, trope about psychology students or psychiatry students at university, that the vast majority of them actually sign up for the degree course or whatever it is because they're trying to figure out their own shit. And I just wonder whether these people who are creating these morbid curiosity kind of tests, evaluations, secretly wanted to know what their kind of measure was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the people around them,
Yeah.
I knew that guy was blonde. Get rid of him, right? Anyway, so there are 4 domains, they call them.
Yeah.
And would you like to just run through
Yes.
them?
Well, first we have the minds of dangerous people.
Which we never really thought about.
Yes. Violence, which I think is the most common to find in general.
That's the action itself, violence.
Then we have paranormal danger.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, that appears in there.
Mm-hmm.
Then body violation,
which
is the aftermath of violence.
Yeah. And you can see Rafa's smiling there for a reason, but we'll come to that in a minute. But there are no wrong answers. I just want to emphasize that. No judgment, right?
No, I mean... It's just... Well, let's continue to that first study because it's... it's interesting.
So the studies were divided up into the 4 domains.
Yeah.
Right? And what they were trying to answer were, through 4 studies, they were trying to answer 3 questions. I'll just review them.
Mm-hmm.
So the first question was, is morbid curiosity linked with higher belief in conspiracy theories? Interesting question.
Yeah.
Second question, is the link between morbid curiosity and interest in conspiracy theories driven by people's perception of threats? Okay?
That's a good one as well, actually.
It is a good one, actually. And then the third question they were trying to answer was, does morbid curiosity make people more likely to seek out conspiracy theories as explanations for events? And this kind of chimes back to what we were talking about earlier about lowering trust in institutions and, explanations that the government gives for things like, the end of the world, that kind of thing, right? Anyway, the study groups were very well structured, and none of the study groups for the 4 domains shared participants, and there was an even split in gender. And we just talked before we started recording about, because I didn't include it in the notes here, about is there a difference in gender on the issue of morbid curiosity? And we looked it up, and there is no difference.
Yeah, that was interesting as well.
Did it surprise us because we're 2 blokes talking about it?
Well, I don't know, maybe.
And if it would have been bloke and a woman, the woman would have gone, well, that doesn't surprise me.
Probably. I don't know. My view on that was that, the fact that usually younger people are more inclined into this or easier get into this.
Curious, right?
Curious. Yeah. I would have thought that had to do with hormonal development.
Yeah,
and
brain,
younger guys with more testosterone and, getting a bit more, interested in this kind of violent situation.
No, here's an interesting thing. It just occurred to me. What about with young girls, maturing, curiosity about things like eating disorders and,
but would you call that related to morbid?
Well, you might be tempted to look at Insta page because you are having your own issues about whatever, food or whatever, and you see something on an Insta page about somebody who's bigging up their life as an anorexic or as a bulimic or a whatever, or self-harm, or isn't that same thing? It's violence, isn't it?
Yes, I guess you can consider it as well. Yes.
I don't know, there you go, wandering off subject again. Anyway, so let's get into
outcomes.
What were the outcomes of these studies? Do you want to?
Yeah, the first one actually found that the more morbidly curious people were, the higher their general belief in conspiracy theories.
We kind of weren't that surprised, were we?
No. What? And I was, my view onto this particular study was that, normally or nowadays, I guess the beliefs of people are very divided, and that lack of maybe trusting or believing in something, because there's always some kind of deceit sometimes behind things, makes you want to cling into something to believe in.
Yeah.
And I don't mean religion, for example.
No.
I mean more real things happening around you.
Yeah.
How can we say, social or human
activities or
events happening, and believing actually conspiracy theories makes you kind of attach into a level of maybe like religion, like gives you some kind of
group belonging or something. Yeah, like you're belonging to
but also
group.
Maybe a sense of, okay, I couldn't do anything about it anyway.
Right.
But there's something that there's keeping you hanging in there.
Certainly something I've read elsewhere about conspiracy belief is that the world is very complicated, as we know, and that basically people, I don't want to say a majority, but a significant group of people have difficulty processing complexity.
Yeah.
And what they seek is simplicity. And I don't know about you, but conspiracy theory explanations of things are always, I don't know whether you've noticed, are always simpler than the actual explanation. Because the explanations, the actual facts are complicated, and there's a lot of interaction and a lot of, nuance and blah, 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 and people can't apparently handle that. So they go for these really simple explanations, no matter how crazy. Right?
Yeah. But I think at the same time, not all conspiracy theories turn out to be all crazy shit.
I agree. But
maybe some become actually like, oh, that was actually the real explanation.
But the test apparently of any good conspiracy theory is that it has a grain of truth in it. And that is the thing that separates true batshit crazy conspiracy theories from ones that kind of run and run. Because the ones that run and run, in the end, it turns out, have a kind of a thread of truth that not the truth. They're a kind of warped view of the truth. But because they've got this kernel of something, they just take on a life of their own, So, but I agree, totally agree. Some conspiracy theories are not maybe in the end. Can you actually think of one that we actually know that? Because I can't.
Not right now. But let's move on because we're going to stay here 1 hour discussing this kind of thing.
So,
study number 2.
Jesus. Study number 2. Okay. So for study number 2, people had to rate, study participants had to rate how threatening they felt several explanations of events were. The events included things like mainstream and conspiratorial explanations of the same thing, such as whether aeroplane contrails are water vapor or harmful chemicals.
Yeah, right? The famous chemtrails.
Chemtrails, right? Anyway, the study found that the higher people's morbid curiosity, the higher their perceived threat in a conspiratorial theory.
Yeah.
Or a conspiratorial explanation. We kind of think that's...
I think that's... yeah. I don't know. I think that sounds...
It kind of makes
sense even with the first study.
Sense. Yeah.
Basically.
Well, we've kind of riffed about these studies, and they're kind of it's a bit like these actual study questions where they come at it the same point from different angles to try and tease out the true kind of measure, don't they? And these studies have that kind of feel about them, don't they? That they're actually kind of shifting around, coming at the same thing from different angles. So,
I guess it depends also on what information the person was having previous to this study.
True.
Because if somebody has ever heard of chemtrails...
Never heard of them.
But let's say that there's 2 persons, one that never heard about chemtrails and one that actually have heard about it, knows about them. So when you come to the study and they tell you, what's the correct answer for this airplane with this? Water vapor or chemtrails? Most likely, the person that knew about chemtrails would say chemtrails.
Because they've done their research, right?
They knew from before, from the media, from a YouTube video, from whatever.
Many YouTube videos.
Probably you go down the rabbit hole and,
Watch as many as you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I agree. Because, they've already rejected the truth. So,
study number 3,
right?
The participants were they had to make a choice between a series of pair descriptions, and they have to choose which of the pair they would like to learn more about. So, for example, some were morbid and non-morbid pairs, such as seeing, for example, a photo of a man who killed his girlfriend and ate her. That sounds already... Or a photo of a man who saved his friend from drowning. Okay?
Right.
Now, others were pairs of conspirational and mainstream explanations, of the same event, like the Titanic sinking because it's struck the iceberg, which, no, I think is the most, you would say it would be the logical
popular
one. Yeah. Versus being deliberately sunk in an insurance scam.
Now, I particularly like that one because
this makes you actually wonder.
It could be either, right? But
yeah,
probably the weight of evidence, blah, 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 Anyway.
Yeah.
Interesting. So that was that study.
That was, And what was found then?
Okay. And what was found was that, surprise, surprise, the more morbidly curious people were in their choices, such as, for example, choosing to view the photo of the man who killed and then ate his girlfriend with a very nice Chianti and some fava beans, presumably, the more likely they were to be interested in conspiratorial explanations. Again, we kind of think, that probably makes sense.
Yes, I think that from the first study that settles the base, then everything else really makes sense, basically. And conclusions.
Yeah, so conclusions, right? So overall, young people, bless them, tend to be more morbidly curious, but there doesn't appear to be a significant gender divide.
Yeah.
So, if at all, they really can't tease one out, which, I don't know, I think it surprised you, and I'm not sure I was that surprised.
No. Anyway, second finding.
Yes, so you want to do this one?
Yes. Basically, across all the 3 studies, morbidly curious people were more likely to have general conspiracist beliefs. Perceive conspiracies, the conspiracy theories to be a bit more threatening, and showing a lot of interest in learning more about conspirational explanations. So they start to get this tendency of shifting into go more and more into the conspirational.
It's kind of like this
area.
Echo chamber effect, isn't it? Where especially with social media, you express an interest just one bit, and you just get fed more.
Basically, you just create your own
silo,
your own bias.
Well, you reinforce it.
Bias. You're trying to reinforce yourself,
or the social media reinforces it,
or they reinforce you. Exactly,
the algorithm, right? Let's start about the algorithm, right? Anyway, so in all 3 studies, the domain of morbid curiosity was most strongly linked to interesting conspiracy theories. The domain of morbid curiosity, which was most strongly linked to interesting conspiracy theories, was minds of dangerous people. Yeah, I was getting a bit confused there because of my age, but that's another ongoing subject. But so, what does it mean, minds of dangerous people?
Well, people that have executed or come to do very...
It's other, isn't it?
Yes.
Outsiders.
Something extraordinary more than the normal in violence.
The out group.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know, skinheads or right-wing fascist violent sympathizers.
Like aggression, primate aggression, as they would call it.
Yeah. And apparently the study authors offered a kind of an explanation of this minds of dangerous people thing, which is it's to do with evolution and the emergence of groupthink.
Yeah.
And it's also very closely linked with language development about 300,000 years ago. And it meant that humans as groups could be curious about the intentions of potentially dangerous people. So it's like suspicion, right?
Suspicion, but in the end, maybe it's survivalist.
I think it is because better to assume that approaching group is dangerous than they just want to party all day and all night.
And you avoid it, for example, if you would intend not to.
Well,
or maybe the other way around.
If you tend towards they are dangerous explanation, which is survivable, which is a survival plus advantage, and you avoid them, even if they do just want to party all afternoon.
Yeah.
That's better making the incorrect judgment than making the incorrect judgment that they do want to party all day when in fact they just want to murder you all. And so if you then invite them in thinking, oh, they want to party all day, and then they club you to death, it's too late. So you can see that it's kind of survival trait to assume threat, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But let's check our scores because...
because we're...
If you do the test, you get some scores. So we have here our scores.
We do. I'm going to have to put the goggles on for this. Okay, shall we do the overall score at the end?
At the end, yes. So let's start first with the paranormal score.
Yeah. So the population average is 3.43. What did you get, Raph?
I got a 4.5. So I'm above normal.
Above average.
Above average in the paranormal.
Not normal.
Yeah. Normal doesn't exist anyway. Yeah. About the paranormal score.
Yeah.
So.
And I got 3.67.
So also slightly above average.
Slightly above average. Yeah. So what about, I'll do Minds of Dangerous People. The population average is 3.03 and I got...
3.93 actually.
Sorry, 3.93 and I got 3.83, which puts me in the...
Still under average.
It's just under average.
Yeah.
What did you get?
I got 3.5. So I'm...
Quite a bit under average.
Under average.
But still, it's close. Right?
Yeah.
And then the next one, Rafa.
Body violation or bodily injury score, which means about...
after violence.
After violence, or like the dead people.
The immediate effect.
After, like for example, when you watch movies like John Wick, I guess.
Oh, right. Well, I like those movies.
No. There you go.
This study's rubbish.
Population average is 3.08.
Yeah, what did you get?
I got 3.5.
There are no
slightly
losers.
Above average. Slightly above average. I don't know.
I got 1.67, which puts me well below average. And I've said to you, I will not watch movies where people are getting turned inside out and bloody God knows what. So, violence score, I'll do that one.
Mm-hmm.
So, the average score for violence is 3.18, and I got 2.67. So, quite a bit under.
Yeah. Well, I got actually, again, 3.5, which I'm above average.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Above average.
I guess my like for action movies, it's
but I like action. But I like action movies. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so let's just do the overall
score
average. So across all the studies, all participants, working out the population average for Morbid Curiosity, one of our new interests. The population average is 3.41 and I got 2.96, so it's a bit under.
Yes, I got 3.75.
Which is a bit over.
Slightly over average.
But I think, generally speaking, we looked at some of the scales, we're kind of...
Normal.
We're not saying normal.
Yeah.
We're all winners.
Yes.
Sorry, Gen X and millennials. Whatever you score, you're a winner. Okay?
No, but that would be interesting. Share your scores in the comments.
Yeah.
I think if you want to share all of them, you can share all of them.
Yeah.
If you don't want, just don't do it.
Just share your average.
But the average, the first one, the Morbid Curiosity score.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be interesting to... Maybe you're watching us because you're morbid curious about that topics we talk about.
Or maybe you don't have enough to do. We don't know.
As well. Yeah, why not? Yeah.
So...
That was it for the topic.
That went longer than I...
No, but it was an interesting topic.
It was an interesting topic and, yeah.
Right. Next,
yeah. So, Rafa, Morbid Curiosity.
That was quite a subject, I think.
It was. We literally did learn something about ourselves.
Yeah.
And some of it was surprising.
Yeah, but I think we would be interested into knowing what were your scores.
Yeah.
Share them in the comments.
Yeah.
And if you have any requests, any suggestions for the show, just let us know down there in the comments. Also, in the description, you will find the link for the survey and link to find our audio podcast. So if you never listened to our audio podcast before, you can go back.
Yeah.
Find us there, listening all the old stuff we have done since a few years ago.
And new episodes will be coming in there.
And all these new episodes, like the one of today, will appear also there.
Yeah. So maybe you could have a word with your what? Social network? Is that the word?
Yeah.
Is that the word Gen Z's using now?
Like a lot of people say, if you like it, share it.
You like it, share it. Yeah.
Share it with somebody you know.
I wish I hadn't said that. But there you go.
Yeah. I didn't want to say that typical. Like and subscribe.
No.
But yeah, do that. Please.
And yet now you've said it.
And now I said it, so
and we can't
do that, please.
unsay it. But... Okay, so that was our first episode. There will be more every 2 weeks.
Yes, every 2 weeks. Don't forget about that. Every day, every Monday, every 2 weeks.
Every Monday, every 2 weeks. And we look forward to you joining us.
Yeah, going on this rabbit hole.
Not down the rabbit hole, but we're in the rabbit hole.
We are already there, so...
Yeah, we're in it. We're now trying to find the exit, I think.
So, my name is Rafael Ruiz.
My name's Carl Baldwin.
See you next time.